Hello and welcome. My name is Evgeny Rusakov and you're watching TVP World interview from Vilnius. Almost everybody has heard about disinformation, trolls, fake images and other interesting, but at the same time dangerous stuff that awaits ordinary users while browsing the internet. Unfortunately, not many of us understand the real threat of all this. To discuss disinformation and other related topics, we are joined today by the board member of Civic Resilience Initiative, Lukas Andriukaitis. Hello, Lukas, and thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
So, you are the one that constantly deals with that disinformation, misinformation. I've read another interesting definition, malinformation. So, these three definitions, what are they about?
Correct. So oftentimes these are being used as synonyms, and I think it's a very good time to always talk about it and sort of clear the doubts, what means what. So disinformation is the term that we hear the most. It's basically consists of two key criteria. So it is the spread of unverified, unchecked, or straight out fake information with a goal to deceive. So we need to have both the intention and also the fake information. Misinformation is very similar, but we don't have the clear goal to deceive. So the person who is dealing with misinformation most likely believes in it or doesn't have at least the desire to trick someone. So a good example, a textbook example could be COVID times, right? A lot of people believed in a lot of things, a lot of conspiracy theories, natural, people were in shock and panic. So they were sharing a lot of, various remedies, which were, a lot of them were misinformation.
And that was a misinformation?
I would say so.
Okay, okay.
And lastly, we have malinformation, which is the least heard, I guess, in the broad public. This is basically deliberate spread of real information. So I like to give an example that if you tell someone a secret and the person wants to do you harm, so he will tell that secret in public in order to hurt you, right? So he will share something with the intention of
harming.
Yeah, harming and to harm someone.
Okay, then here's the next question then. Which one of them, of those three definitions, is most and least dangerous?
That's a very good question, but I'm not sure I have a very good answer because it really depends on the situation, right? All of them poses significant challenges. I guess we deal the most with disinfo because we see that there's like intention, usually either from within the country or outside of the country. Maybe a third country is trying to deceive someone with, for political gains or something like that. But misinformation and malinformation can be dangerous too, depending on the situation, right? I gave you an example of COVID. Misinformation, I think, at that time was more dangerous because so many more people were dealing with it. So many people were talking out loud.
Like literally just, for example, COVID shots, for example, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Could be a good example of that.
That's another good one, yeah. Maybe if there's another crisis, maybe there's a hurricane in the United States and people, are in shock and sharing information which is unverified, and in this case, make the work for government institutions a bit harder.
Which one of them is most catchy? Or that always depends.
It also depends, I would say, but with disinformation, we have intention from the side to deceive, so most likely it will be the most refined, the most quality disinfo, information with some weirdness into it, with some tricks. So I would say that might be the most catchy because someone intentionally makes it like so. But in other cases, misinfo can be also quite catchy if the topic is in high demand and everyone's full of emotions, and that might be it. But malinformation, when you think about it, when it's real information, maybe it's someone's secret, maybe it's some sort of gossip. It also could be quite interesting. So it is really hard to give you like a very clear answer.
Okay. Now information. I mean, nowadays loads of sources, and you get different information and. What is the best way to check if the information is true or false?
I'm a little bit biased because I deal with, online information and online disinformation. So I really think that having all these tools online is basically the best remedy. We call it open source, so basically information that is freely available. And we always talk about open source tools and techniques on how to check it, whether it is text information, whether it is visual information, whether it is videos, or it could be even AI-generated information, right? You can always, with specific tools or specific techniques, even if you're not very much trained, you can still Google out a lot of things, right? So we usually share information on how to do it. And yeah, to put it short, these are the open source tools and techniques.
Okay, then there's the next question. Double checking the information.
Sure.
How important is double checking the information, and what should be done for proper double checking?
Sure. So double checking is, I would say, also could be done with open source tools and techniques. I mean, I'm sure that you use very similar techniques as I do. Maybe I have some, maybe more concrete tools up my sleeve, which I tend to share with the public as much as possible. But it is very important because if you won't double check your information, you might be dealing in misinformation, right? Like if something happens, like elections just rolled by, right? If you'll have a show about elections and you won't double check all the sources, especially coming from social media, you might, think
get yourself a wrong picture.
Exactly. Unintentionally deceive the viewers. So we, of course, don't want that, and I highly recommend double-checking it. And talking about the tools, we have a whole list. We have those toolboxes that we constantly prepare from scratch, and sometimes we update them, and all of them can be found in cri.lt.
Okay. Let's move on then. Trolls and bots.
Mm-hmm.
What is this about?
Well, trolls and bots are the actors that live in the online social media. And most of them, most of the time, are dealing with disinformation, but in some cases they can deal with other things too. So trolls are basically accounts that either pretend to be someone else or are intentionally very aggressive and have the goal of sparking discussions, swaying the public interest into one topic or another, convincing them of some things, usually manipulating in emotion, in anger or fear.
But are those some real people that stand behind those trolls, or is it just AI, for example?
It really depends. Usually those are real people because automated accounts, oftentimes we call them bots. Automated accounts usually are bots, robots,
Okay.
Stuff like that. So if there's a human being, we usually associated the account with a troll. And if it's not, it's a bot.
But they do pretty much the same dodgy work.
To some extent, because automated accounts or bots oftentimes are created to spread the word and to manipulate algorithms. So as trolls try to manipulate human beings and their emotions, bots usually try to manipulate algorithms in order for specific messages to appear more interesting, more important for the algorithms, which will push them up higher in the feeds, right? So, for example, if I create 30 bots and I give them a task to promote something, for example, one of the social media, let's say X or Twitter, will think that there's 30 people talking about it. Most likely it is an important topic, and it will push it higher. Okay. So more real people will actually get that news. So this is their intention. How
could ordinary users identify fake social network accounts, fake images, and fake videos?
Usually, for example, every search criteria or every search example can have a specific tool. So for example, if we want to check if the photo belongs to the actual human being, we might use reverse image search, which is a Google, or actually most of the search engines have the same ability. They just, instead of using words, you ask the search engine to find identical or very similar images, then you can check the original source. So for example, if a very nice lady is trying to be your friend on Facebook, and you check that...
That's a very common story.
It is a very common story, and you check that that lady is not from Lithuania, but her photos are from Brazil, and then you say, all right, this is weird, right? It's already sort of a red flag that something is off.
It is.
So yeah, so we do things like that, or even there's other things to check if the image is not photoshopped. We use photo forensics for that. I mean, I don't want to go too much into technical details because
explain it as to usual
Sure.
ordinary users.
Of course. So usually there are a few tools that you upload the photo, and then you do a specific analysis called error level analysis. And in those photos, the areas which are most likely photoshopped will appear in different colors.
Okay.
So there's like software that helps to detect these kind of things. Other things we also oftentimes check if the words or the comments that are being produced are not AI generated. So there are also tools for that, right? We just copy paste the message, and algorithms will check if it's not generated, if it's real or generated, right?
Okay.
So we do these kind of tricks. And it's, to be honest, very easy. If you would open one of those toolboxes that we have online, it's basically like an instruction, like a recipe, right? You just do this, and that, and you'll get the results. And I can promise this is not rocket science. We teach the same things either to school children, to students, to journalists. Like anyone who knows how to use a mobile device or a computer can actually do it.
Okay. Again, coming back to our main topic, some search engines also have facial recognition features.
Yeah.
So briefly, could you shed more light on what is this about? I mean, and in what cases should ordinary users use this facial recognition feature? So
before heading into this topic, I'll say that this question oftentimes pack a lot of ethical considerations, right? Trying to recognize a person without his approval, it's a bit of a gray zone. Even though we live in a free society and all the information that is online technically is open source. However, if you try to recognize a person, it can be a bit tricky on the ethics side, right? Having said that, there are some specific tools. So, for example, there's spimeyes.com that specializes in facial recognition tools. There's search engines like Yandex, which is another thing I have to say. It's a Russian platform.
It is.
Yeah.
That was actually my next question. So could you please explain? Can we use it for like any needs?
Sure. To be honest, we can. I mean, it's also a bit of an ethical question, right? It's a Russian product. We know what Russia is currently doing in Ukraine. We don't want to. Most of us don't want to support that, right?
Exactly.
So
by using Yandex, we literally support.
We give them additional users, and this might somehow transform into additional revenue. However, if we're dealing with Russian disinformation, oftentimes this is like one of the best search engines to deal with in the post-Soviet space. Well, it is quite natural, right? They focus on that region, and if we want to, for example, search for, try to recognize a Russian individual, if we want to search in the Russian news, right? Yandex most likely will be the best option.
That's interesting. Okay, so final question.
Sure.
To summarize everything that you've said right now, what should users do in case they identify disinformation in the internet?
Yeah, the best idea would be to report it. If you're using Western social media, this will most likely have an impact. This might look like fighting against the windmills. On the other side, if enough of people will do it, there's a good chance that this fake information will be removed. So one of the best tactics is to organize with friends, colleagues, and if there is blatant disinfo, especially like something focused against our country, against our population, against our citizens, then it's a good idea to report on it. And we usually do it with groups. So I am part of a few groups that share it, and then we all report it if it's actual disinformation. Similar groups are called elves. Those who fight trolls,
Okay.
So it's very nice.
Well, that
very
makes
nice
sense.
Lord of the Rings sort of folklore. So they do it like that, and it's a very, very nice grassroots approach into fighting disinfo. So
I guess this was our disinformation toolkit. Lukas, thank you so much for joining us today, and I really hope that this information will find its user. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I would like to remind our viewers that our guest for today was a board member of Civic Resilience Initiative, Lukas Andriukaitis. You're watching TVP World. Stay with us.